Newscheck is a program that we endeavor to ensure that we keep you afloat with all the latest happening in the country. And talking about the latest happening in the country at the moment, there is a high-level regional workshop bringing together investigators, prosecutors, and regulators from East and Southern Africa to strengthen regional action against money laundering. We'll be getting to that as soon as the EACC CEO Abdi Mohamud will be speaking. Next, we also have the 25th East African Community Trade Fair at Uhuru Garden, Nairobi. President William Ruto is expected in that function. We'll be crossing over to that as well. The Kenya Primary School heads annual general meeting that is currently in Mombasa. We did see yesterday actually some sharp divisions in regard to the migration of the health cover from Minet to the Social Health Authority. There are some teachers who have issues in that, saying they lacked public participation. Then we have a number of parliamentary committees that are currently underway, and we'll be crossing over just to have a feel or just a check of what is currently happening. And of course, in the State of the Nation, a lot is currently happening, and of course, we'll be talking about that. We have the police recruitment row, we have citizen relations and integration, succession politics as well, and of course the regional integration. A lot has been happening in regards to Kenya, Uganda and Tanzania in the last couple of weeks, and so we'll be having a really candid conversation on that. And on the second hour, we will be talking about promoting private mediation in Kenya. Did you even know there was a mediation training institute right here in the country? I'll be hosting the president of that institute just to tell us how you just need to do and what exactly they are doing to ensure that we have more mediation. If you remember, we also have the court-annexed mediation, which was started a couple of years ago to just ensure that we don't go in the long litigation process if it's a case that we can sit down and agree. Well, my name is Njue. Thank you so much for joining us. Allow me to just now rope in my panel of experts, beginning from my immediate left. He is the Executive Director of County Governance Watch and also a seasoned governance expert, Kevin Osido. Allow me to call you General Kevin Osido. I see.
Thank you, sir.
You'll be telling us why you have decided on a Tuesday to don the Kenya Scouts uniform.
I know that sometimes, especially when we see this kind of uniform, we only think about Mondays and Fridays.
Yes.
And they are normally called the flag-raising days.
Yes.
Now, today we'll be having the World Scouts Parliamentary Union. It's a union of global leaders who are former parliamentarians and even current parliamentarians who are, of course, in the scouting movement. And as we know, the scouting motto is be prepared. So we are seeking towards raising global leaders who are going to champion for good governance and policy, particularly legislative fronts on a number of thematic issues. So we're talking about climate governance, we are talking about the sense of accountability, transparency, we are talking about spaces for public participation, and really the role that parliamentarians who are legislators. So here we are talking about elected leaders in parliaments globally. So Kenya, rather Nairobi, will be hosting this particular second General Assembly beginning yesterday. As we speak right now,
is it the regional Africa or worldwide?
It's a worldwide movement.
They'll be here?
Yeah, they're already here. Arrived in yesterday. We had a nice dinner last evening, and today, as we speak right now, the delegates from across the member countries are paying a courtesy call to His Excellency the Speaker of the National Assembly, who is expected to be one of the guests, and of course the Speaker of the Senate, Mheshimiwa Amason Kingi, who are also parliamentarians in their own rights. And so we are looking forward to very great, robust conversations that will be able to inform good governance and leadership across the
country. And thank you so much indeed, because we are talking about matters governance, and the Scouts have gathered here just to also talk about matters governance. So,
you are in so that's why I'm in full gear on a Wednesday, and neither a Monday nor a Friday.
All right. And just next to Kevin Osido, we have Dr. Harun Issack Hassan. Karibu sana doc.
Asante sana.
Mkacho pia umeshtuka.
Yeah. I think from the look of the uniform, it's something very colorful. I don't know whether I should be a member of the Kenya Scouts.
Please do. You're welcome.
And I put on that beautiful uniform because, you know, uniforms are sign of authority.
All right, all right. We are now looking at matters governance, and gentlemen, allow me to begin from. Allow me to begin from the region that is Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. Yes. All right, but before we do that, my director, Jackie Wasolo, informs me that we need to cross over to the 25th EAC Trade Fair at Uhuru Garden today, as I mentioned. But gentlemen, allow me just to start there. We have seen EACC has been on the forefront in the last couple of months. We have seen some lands, some pieces of land have been repossessed, and we have seen some arrests. Kevin, you are the County Governance Watch. You work very closely with the counties, and there's a lot of corruption there. A step in the right direction?
Indeed, it's a step in the right direction, and one of the core mandates of EACC is also to ensure that we exercise preventive measures. And we have seen the Commission coming out to be able to not only exercise its mandate in terms of like the arrests that you are talking about, but also recovering goods or assets that are perceived to have been acquired using corrupt means. And some successful stories that we have seen is, for example, the Governor Okoth Obado case, where I gather that they've been able to recover over 580 plus million, and of course certain assets that will then be sold, and we hope that the recovered resources will then be brought back to be able to be meaningful to the people of Kenya. So steps in the right direction, but I think there is a lot of work that needs to be done, particularly insofar as training and technical assistance to county governments. As County Governance Watch, we work very closely with the EACC. We have a program that brings in the Commission, both the EACC, the Office of the Controller of Budget, the Office of the Auditor General, and the citizen action groups that we work with across the different counties. And one of the biggest challenges that they have also decried is a lack of capacity. So county governments do not have the requisite capacity to not only be able to, report corruption, but even to detect it, so that you're able to detect it from the moment you assume or perceive that a corrupt exercise is just about to happen. But even when it is reported, the reporting schemes are also very slim, because even the capacity of the internal audit offices of both the executive arms of county governments and even the county assembly, institutions like public accounts committees and the different institutions that are supposed to help us to address graft and corruption. So it's a good step in the right direction, but we both agree together with my good friend Abdi, the CEO, that a lot of work still needs to be done. But that also stems from what I would call positive political goodwill. And I think from the national government, His Excellency the President has been at the forefront, despite all the propaganda and all the assumptions that people might have that he is probably touted to be having as many questions on accountability to respond to Kenyans. But I think from a positive goodwill is the talk that he has, He speaks to parliamentarians and he tells them, I know that you guys were paid, and it's not a good thing to receive money so that you can pass laws. We have seen, as you rightfully said, Ben, recoveries of lost land. So EACC needs to be out there in a much more bigger manner to speak about what they are doing, because again, in many parts of the country, people still only look at EACC as the officers who show up and arrest police officers. But I think lastly is also the inherent patriotic spirit of the Kenyans. That I have a right and a responsibility also to join EACC and other stakeholders to fight corruption.
Yes, and Doc, before we cross over to Safari Park again, I'm looking at exactly what Kevin has mentioned. Indeed, that in as much as there is everything that is surrounding the governance and the presidency, is that the president is giving goodwill to ensure that we fight corruption. And we want to see heads roll, and especially when it came, for example, the case of Obado. A lot of Kenyans still believe that he should have been arrested, in as much as EACC was able to recover all of it or part of it, but just to send a message that Kenya is not going to tolerate corruption.
Kenya is not going to tolerate corruption. That's a relatively questionable statement, because we do actually celebrate corruptions in all means, whether it is at the executive, whether it is at the county, whether it's parliament, or whether it's an ordinary citizen of the country. When EACC puts efforts in ensuring that people who, by virtue of their responsibility, do not do what they are expected to do and end up in looting public coffers, quite a number of interesting things occur. One is interestingly, quotas come from different angles in protecting that particular person. You have seen several occasions where governors who EACC have confirmed that they have looted government property, who Auditor General have given clear directives in terms of their report, and then they are brought to EACC for interrogation. Kenyans and all political heavyweights and the so-called supporters go with them there. So long as we want to protect issues related to corruption and issues related to integrity within our system, corruption will never leave us. And therefore, EACC has done some significant stride.
Okay, just hold the thought, because I'm informed that we now have a clear link to Safaricom in that EACC workshop that is bringing together stakeholders from the Eastern and Southern Africa. Let's listen in.
To collaborate under the East African Anti-Corruption Platform, we must ensure our legal frameworks are in tandem with the evolving corruption trends, from virtual assets and trade-based money laundering to complex beneficial ownership concealment. I note the overall objective of this workshop is to develop a set of regional indicators to measure progress in implementing asset recovery related recommendations from the regional platform conference, among others. These indicators will help benchmark performance, promote transparency, and enhance public confidence in our anti-corruption efforts. When presented to the EAACA Assembly later this month, these indicators should reflect our shared operational realities and regional priorities. Ladies and gentlemen, as I conclude, I reaffirm that the achievements we highlighted today are the result of strong partnerships between agencies across borders and with stakeholders such as UNODC, whose support continues to strengthen our institutional and technical capacities. Let us sustain this momentum. Together, we can ensure that the fight against corruption, money laundering, and terrorism financing remains not just a reactive, but a transformative, restoring public trust and securing development gains for future generations. As part of a wider strategy to enhance anti-corruption research and our capacities in financial investigations and asset recovery, I call upon all members to support the establishment of the Center for Anti-Corruption Strategies and Research in Africa, which we anticipate to be launched in Kenya during the 8th African Anti-Corruption Authorities AGM sometime in June 2026. The center will serve our law enforcement agencies to tackle emerging issues in the fight against corruption, including money laundering and asset recovery within the African context. Let us commit to a region where integrity is the norm, not the exception, where public resources serve the people, not a few. So with those many remarks, I want to thank you so much for listening to me, and I also wish you fruitful deliberations. Thank you so much.
Just a minute. Very well, that has been EACC Chief Executive Officer Abdi Mahamoud there at Safari Park, where there is that workshop I was talking about that is bringing together investigators, prosecutors, regulators from across Eastern and Southern Africa to strengthen region against money laundering and also enhance cooperation and the return of stolen stolen assets. Well, before we crossed over to Safari Park, Doc, you were mentioning, in as much as we have that goodwill to fight corruption, at the end of the day, for the optics, is not quite good. I'm talking about even the integrity of leaders. That is also corruption. We have leaders who have been convicted, who have still pending cases, some murder cases in court, but unfortunately, they are our leaders.
Yeah, I think, as I earlier put it, there are things surrounding our integrity, our accountability, you know, our being patriotic or patriotism, meaning that Kenyans will want good things. Kenyans do not have good practice. Kenyans do not care about integrity. As I mentioned earlier on, you will find the Auditor General has confirmed in his audit that there was malpractice as a result of certain leadership or accounting officer. And when this outcome comes, the reason as to why the Auditor General is being paid as an independent institution is to make sure that everything that is being utilized is clearly audited, and it is meant for it is used for the purpose that it's meant for. If that has not happened, the buck must stop somewhere. Then you realize a governor is, for example, to EACC for interrogation and for even possible accusation or preparation for him to face the law. You will see Kenyans in the name of supporters crowding at the gate of EACC.
Yeah.
You will find politicians coming in support of that particular person. You will find sometimes orders being given from nowhere, being said, can you drop that issue at the moment? It's not. So our political architects has made a situation where we develop a safe haven for people with questionable integrity. And if that happens, then issues related to patriotism will no longer be in our system. Therefore, I think EACC has done a number of things which probably they did it in because it has never attracted public interest or other interests from other quarters, and that you see them delivering, including, you know, these processed land issues. But when you go to Ministry of Land, you'll find land registrars who are owning the whole of Nairobi. These were all government officers who have been employed, earning probably 150, 200,000 maximum in a month. Where did they get all that wealth to own the whole land? So it's not about the end part. Probably this particular person whose property has now been repossessed never had that strength. But for you to possess a property, government officials are involved. Are those officials accountable? Have they been brought to book in order for them to face the law, so that we don't see similar things happening? We have seen last time an old lady in Westlands, an Indian lady, I remember it was in the news, where her property, because she has grown old, one land officers have changed her title deed, and someone comes and say, this property is mine, move out. You know, these are the things that is destroying the nation. These are the things that is putting our integrity into question. And you see, if you go outside this country, Kenya is respected for being very aggressive in terms of doing something. But we are also applauded for being the most corrupt person. So people, the corrupt people. So meaning then, when you go to other countries, people will fear the bit of your craftiness. So the issue of integrity, the issue of corruption, these are things that must be bad. There must be a clear deterrent. For example, you'll find a governor who has been sentenced by court for corruption, and the person is told to pay 100 million. Why do you want to ask him to pay money? Why don't you take him life sentence in, and therefore no one will come back to this?
Yes.
You get the point? Because in countries like China, you'll be killed for corruption. actually you'll be assassinated.
Osido, borrowing from what Doc has mentioned in terms of, I know ISCC is talking about mostly they are centering their focus on return of stolen property, you know, but the integrity of our leaders as well, just like he pointed out. We have governors who reigned in the courts or even taken to the EACC, and we see their followers just talking about how this is political and everything. Doc has mentioned, and it's true, corruption in China is a capital offense. So is murder in China is still a capital offense. What do you think could be the deterrent to ensure that in as much as we are talking about, you know, corruption is just more or less killing the economy, killing dreams, killing visions. What exactly can we do to ensure it's a strong deterrent? We have talked so many years that EACC doesn't have the biting teeth, and as things have not changed yet, but it could be a deterrent to ensure that not only do we have legitimate leaders, but we also have corrupt-free leaders.
That's a very good question, and especially happening at the point in time when we are having expected by-elections and our upcoming general election in a few months. But I believe that one of the things that we must do is to do what we call the cost of corruption. What is this thing that Kenyans lose because you have a corrupt leader? And what is this thing that Kenyans would be able to gain if we voted in a leader who, of course, integrity is also quite an ambiguous statement in its terminology, but practice is very strong. So that if we have analyzed the cost of corruption and what we lose, and in this country we have been told that we lose 2 billion shillings per day, I sometimes think that it is probably more than that if you were to look at both national and county government agencies and different spaces. But what is 2 billion shillings in a week? What is 2 billion shillings in a month? What is 2 billion shillings in a year in a country where counties, for example, are still lagging behind because of this, despite their failure to meet their own source revenue targets, but their delayed disbursements from the equitable share national treasury? What is, say, 760 billion shillings in a country where teachers have been on strike for more than 40 days plus? What is 760 billion shillings in a country where healthcare is still such a big challenge? What is 760 billion in a country where some parts of this country still do not have water, you know, that is flowing into their homesteads, and mothers, expectant mothers, have to still roll jerry cans from very lengthy distances to be able to access water. So the moment we break down those big sums to the common citizen, and then also work very closely with EACC, like Daktari is saying, so that EACC also gives us names and say Kevin Osido is corrupt, as an example, and this is the amount of money he has stolen as the governor of a county called Siaya. So had this money not been stolen because you voted for Kevin, who later stole your money, you would have had this number of schools, you would have had this number of dispensaries or health facilities, and those health facilities would not be lacking water. I mean drugs, etc. So the moment the citizen still believes that it is better to get somebody who steals our money and then gives them back to us because they have come to campaign and they have to, where I come from, we call it Gonya, like you release us. We came, we sat, we listened to you. Now you just let us go like this without anything. The laws would say, like you're just leaving us the way you found us. So until when the citizens realize that we don't have to be bribed, to get money, because Ben, you and I and Daktari know, and all of us, that we also have costs to the election. There is a figure you tab to being a governor of Nairobi. And we know how much a governor of Nairobi or governors earn, because there is no salary for governor of Lamu, governor of Nairobi, etc. They have a cap of their salaries. Even their allowances, we know. So the moment we break it down like that, and I think that is what EACC is not doing. It's good to have workshops, talk tough, talk big, have the bishop and archbishops as your chairs, But there is a way in which you must break down that communication so that the citizen does not think that it is such a high-level thing, but yet corruption is also happening at the grassroots. Number one. Number two, we must emphasize that there is interagency engagement. between the critical offices, the DPP, you know, the DCI for investigations. A lot of why cases fail is because, you know, lack of proper investigations. The evidence that was brought was shoddy. It didn't meet what we are looking for. And then all those things weaken the prosecution. So the EACC CEO must effectively speak with the DG, DCI, and also the DPP, so that we see a very strong collaboration between these offices. And sometimes the embarrassment that we give to our country that happens at the courts, where an officer is told that the file that you brought did not meet the, you know,
and actually we've seen some of the cases just disappear because somebody is aligned to a certain faction of the politics.
Which is also wrong. So even political parties, Ben, they also have to be brought in, and that is the role of EACC, to bring in multi-sectoral coordination of stakeholders, so that when they say Kevin cannot run in an ex-party ticket because we have this evidence of him being corrupt. The party should not now mobilize people and say, oh, this is our best candidate, he has the best bet to win. The party should just understand.
There's no bestness in integrity.
Exactly. The party should just understand that we have a constitution that talks about Chapter 6, and it is on leadership and integrity. We have Article 10 that spells out all these principles, and that as people who also have a progressive future are looking for a better future for Kenya, Kevin, you will not run because there are questions about you, including even of your degree, you know. And so you cannot run because EACC is of the view that this degree that you say you got from this university is not valid. And that way, we will also begin to see institutions working effectively, and also trust among citizens will also be boosted.
All right, gentlemen, I want us to shift focus, and I totally concur with what you're saying. And when we talk about leaders who have had issues, we remember the case of Aisha Jumwa, we have had Waluke, we also have had a number of leaders who are now leaders, but they had cases even before they got into leadership. But Doc, I'm looking at the region, because we also have to look at regional integration. And the past couple of, let's say, weeks have been a little bit shaky in East Africa, and especially for the three countries, Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania, after the elections of Tanzania. And even before then, Bob Njue and his colleague were arrested.
Nicholas Oyo.
And actually abducted, and Nicholas Oyo. They were abducted just a few days to Tanzanian election. No connection whatsoever, but looking at what our leaders here in the country are talking about, you do remember President Museveni did say and did acknowledge on camera that indeed he is the one who had taken those Kenyans, and he said that we cannot tolerate this. But looking at what Kenyans are talking about, I would like you to weigh in regards to what the Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi talked about. He said, yes, indeed, in as much as we want to exercise our democracy, we can only exercise our democracy within the confines of our borders. But Senator Cherargei did open a can of worms, so to speak, because he did say that they should washughulikiwe huko, then wakuje tuwashughulikie tena. I believe as a regional bloc, and Kenya being one of the biggest democracies in East and Central Africa, that cannot bring regional integration, because we've had cases of a number of Kenyans being killed in Tanzania as well.
Yeah, Ben, I think it is important for us to understand the connection between the countries, the East African community, and what is dispensable across and what is indispensable in some countries. When you look at our constitution is not a replica of the constitution of Uganda and that one of Tanzania or of any other East African country. And therefore, what our constitution gives us is what we can practice within the perimeter of our boundaries. We cannot practice our constitution's rights in another nation. So, in essence, when our activists, our Democrats, so-called Democrats, go into other people's country and try to function similar to the way they function within our country, then they are wrong. Because look at a situation where we all live together, we are neighbors, and my house has a different rules from your house. And there's no one day one will come out of his house and say, why don't you apply this rule that I apply in my house, in your house? And therefore, by virtue of the fact that constitutionally we don't read from the same script, Kenyans are wrong to go and destabilize other country. I think that should be a very clear thing, because you cannot go from one country to go and use, which constitution are they using? If the constitution of that country does not allow you to practice within that country, who are you to come and
but there are some Kenyans, Doc, who would argue that in as much as it's whatever you're saying is right, but if at all they were in the country, because it's a free East Africa community.
The free now, what is it?
Yeah,
we are free. We are free on trade. Yes. We are free on tax customs duties.
These two gentlemen, or even you do remember the case of Boniface Mwangi, and those have been kidnapped and abducted, and they came out and talking about the worst thing that they have seen. You should arrest them and prosecute them according to the laws of that land. You don't just torture people and just send them back.
The problem that we Kenyans don't want to understand is that when you're in a foreign land, you are subjected to what the foreign country have to do to you. You are at their mercy.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, we have the East Africa community, which stipulates very well
that protect you. We don't share. East African communities, East African nation, we don't share constitution.
Yes.
That's the first thing. So most of the things that happens within countries are, countries are governed by their constitution. And therefore, if the constitution doesn't apply in your favor for that particular purpose, then it is, so be it. You can go to Europe, you can go to UK.
There is a constitution and rule of law. What we cannot agree on is the constitution, because each country has a different constitution.
Exactly.
But the rule of law and human rights are enshrined even in the UN Charter.
It doesn't matter.
Universal Declaration.
Yes, Universal Declaration in the UN Charter. You can't just be picking people and torturing them and saying that,
Ben, I think it is good to understand that the use or the application of universal declarations solely with the countries that are using those declarations. For example, there is the ICC issue, isn't it? There are countries we know now who have been put under the ladder of ICC, and they said, we don't respond to those things. We know what we are doing in our own home yard. You see, they have said we don't, we are not part of that universal declaration. Meaning then, every country, based on how their interest is addressed, I think they should be respecting what they should do. You know why I'm trying to bring out this factor of the constitution is because we want to argue in isolation of the constitution of that country. If you are causing, for example, in Uganda, if you are causing issues related to demonstration or those things, those are defined as treason. So in our case, demonstrations and even distracting our own properties here is not a treason, it's a democracy. So if Uganda defines that, for purposes of just sampling, I'm not saying that that's what they are. What I'm just trying to say is that if, for example, Uganda treats their part of actions as a treason, you have no reason to argue with them and saying that in our country that is not a treason. Therefore, what I'm trying to say is that I think we are going overboard.
Okay.
We shouldn't be declaring degrees that do not apply to other countries.
Yes.
Just you come and do your funny things that you do in this country. We are a bit advanced and civilized. We think that we can accommodate you. And if we think that you are going overboard, of course, Kenya system is that you'll be taken to the courts and you'll face the full force of the law.
All right.
But in other countries, that might not be applicable.
Yes, but in as much as we have a number of things that we have signed as countries, and we sing the same song. In regards to we have even the East African Court of Justice. We even have the East African Community. community. We even have the UN Charter. A number in regards to human rights. I totally concur that in as much as Kenyans want to do whatever they want to do, they can do it in the confines of Kenya, because that's exactly where their constitution, actually it's called freedom because of free and domain. Yeah. But we are looking at the rule of law and human rights. That, I think, that is universal in any country. You have to respect the rights of anyone, even if that person is a foreigner. You do remember there's a Mzungu who's spat on some police and he was deported, because that is the law that we have. What if we decided when you spit on someone here in Kenya, tunakushughulikia? That would have been wrong, right? But in as much as whatever he had done was wrong,
actually,
right?
even that deportation is not right. If you go and spit on a police officer in UK, you will be behind bars.
Yes.
First, you face the law, the crime you have committed.
You will face that law, right?
You face the crime that you have committed. You are charged on that. After you finish your sentence is when you are deported back to your homeland.
Even better.
Now, here, we have become very relaxed in terms of application of our laws. And if we don't do that, if we don't become firm on that, people will go into do things which are not conducive.
All right. Kevin, I would like you to weigh in on that, because I concur to a certain level, but I totally believe when we have someone, whether you are a foreigner or a Kenyan, the rules of the land apply.
Correct.
That, either it's taken to court, but when you're abducted, and even the government itself denies that we have you, and then later on says that, yeah, indeed, we had those two guys, and we want,
Yeah, without probably delving deeper into what occasioned the release and why it happened that way, from common understanding, and especially because we are talking about East African community, we must begin looking at each other like a community. And a community is not a community of goats and cows. It's a community of human beings, people who relate differently. But because we have agreed to be part of this community, there are certain measures and indicators that strengthen, or rather that inform how we live, and therefore are supposed to strengthen this community. And one of those things that strengthen the EAC is the protocols. And these protocols, Ben and Daktari, are not just protocols on trade and foreign affairs. They are also protocols on security. There are protocols on visits. And that is why there are passports, there are visas. Even if we are part of a community, you won't just walk into Uganda because we have a protocol that says free movement, free trade.
Yeah.
You still have to show that you're a Kenyan who is coming into a new country. Now, be it as it may, without again delving deeper into what Mheshimiwa Bob Njagi and my good friend Nikoyo did in Uganda, because there are also different stories that, schools of thoughts that probably share or are of the view of what they did. I think that the two of them know what they did that made them get arrested, and the authorities there know what in their mind of rightful mind therefore inform unlawful behavior or lawlessness. But bottom line is that it is not right to hold foreigners in a country that is not of their origin for as many days as Nick and Bob Njagi were held. And especially, as you rightfully said, and we also saw it happening, you even deny that we have these people. The spirit of the community and the protocols would demand and dictate that the ministers in charge of that particular docket, so that if it is security, there was Minister of Security of Uganda should have engaged with the security of Kenya. And you say, we have our brothers here who are part of the community that I'm trying to describe, and they have gone against the spirit that we both agreed on. So this is what we are going to do. Of course, probably that happened. And then the protocols also dictate or describe that there will be something called the Council of Ministers of Foreign Affairs. And I think that Mheshimiwa Mudavadi tried as much as he would have done to be able to even update Kenyans and share what happened. But our brothers, members of the community from the other side, should have exercised the spirit of the community to not hold our people, because you are torturing individuals, emotionally torturing families who were ever on TV asking, please tell us whether they are alive or dead. In some parts of this world, people would have even buried sacks of, they are called banana sacks, and assume that, oh, our people are dead because it's been 2 weeks, we have not seen them, we've not heard from them. And you bury them assuming that they're already what? Dead. So it would, our neighbors would have done probably much more better to be able to just say that, yes, these people are alive. Even abductors sometimes present the abductees and they say, this is Kevin Osido, we have him, he's alive, he's okay, but meet our demands. So what are these demands? That you went against our laws, the protocols, describe how you are supposed to behave, and maybe as a foreigner you cannot come and start playing ralliance with an opposition. And we know the political context of countries like the one that we are describing, that you cannot be able to do certain things politically. So it is important that the conversations that happen, therefore, are aimed at strengthening the spirit of the community. And I don't think that these are good, successful, progressive stories that we want to see moving forward. Because Kenyans, we also have Ugandans and people from other countries who come here. They come here and some of them do very bad things because we live with them in our neighborhoods. But we treat them like community members. We don't beat them up like some of them beat our brothers and sisters in their countries. We don't abuse them. We just say, umefanya hivi, the chairman of the court has said, as a foreigner, you cannot come here and behave the way you did. You can't take trash in front of somebody's gate because you think you are driving whatever car that you are driving. If you continue like this, we'll take you to the nearest police station, and this is the kind of laws that will apply. So that the person is alive, the family also knows that, yes, this is happening. But long short of it, I mean, the long and short of it is that it is still unfortunate that Kenyans were held that long. Families were tortured. In some parts of the world, you'd actually even sue for emotional torture of our country. And you say, yeah, we lost jobs, we lost this amount of money. If you are doing a contract and you flew into Uganda expecting to come back the following day and you are held there for X number of days, you demand for reparations, and that certain steps are taken even to pacify your spirit. But again, in finishing, I think it is a good lesson. As Mheshimiwa Mudavadi said, if you go out there, first of all, relate with the Kenyan embassy, let them know you are here. Once in a while I travel, and I normally try, as Kevin and the delegations that we go with, we try as much as possible. Before we leave Nairobi, we get in touch with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, MFA. We ask them for the contact of, say, Mozambique, who is the embassy or the ambassador or the high commissioner there. Can we get in touch? And the moment we land there, we do our business. The following afternoon, we have lunch with the ambassador or the high commissioner. I think it's good practice that Kenyans who visit other countries. And actually, the reason being, Osido, is that the biggest economic partners of Kenya are Uganda and Tanzania. Within the region. And remember the police officer saying that we do not have these people, and even the military issuing a statement to say we do not have these people. And then the president acknowledges that indeed we were with these people. God forbid, if any one of them died, they could have just, said, we do not know, we do not know. I was talking about that because, we have trade partners. We've had cases of Kenyans have been killed as we speak. We don't know, the circumstances are not quite clear yet, but we are hoping that we can have that regional integration where everyone puts his card on the table. We have 3 of your people who are here to fund protest and everything, and we will... the law will take its arm. But because of the interest of time, Doc, I'm looking at the broad-based arrangement. And the reason I'm talking about this is because the interim leader, that is Dr. Oburu Odinga, was in an interview and also was in the paper saying that they wouldn't settle for anything less than number 1 or number 2. Yes. Where does this, Kenya's politics, the semantics of Kenya politics, they are not as straightforward as they seem. There's a tribe, there's money factor, there's resources, there's, So my question is, where does this leave the current deputy president who's there, or if at all, because I'm quite sure the president wouldn't hand the presidency to any other party. He has said that he will be seeking re-election. Right, him in Amboseli over the weekend. And I'm looking at now the broad-based arrangement, if at all, because we have seen some cracks. The 8-point agenda has not been, 10-point agenda has not been implemented yet. Where do you see the semantics of politics playing out, and especially when it comes to succession?
Right. First, I think it is important to understand that the politics of Kenya is dynamic. Yes. It's not a politics like any other politics in other countries. And that's why you see people are on arithmetics that sometimes look weird, because someone could just ask for your job and you are the one holding that job. So in a proverb in my homeland, we say, ask for a camel so that you can get a cow, and ask for a cow so that you can get a goat. And I think that is what Dr. Oburu is trying to do. Ask for a bigger thing. And then when people come to the boardroom, then you are told, this is what. And I tend to think from the political aspect of our dynamics, Dr. Oburu is looking at retaining the current positions that he has been given. You know, they are both powerful.
Yes.
You know, treasury, you know, mining, energy. Those are powerful ministries. You know, those are powerful ministries. And therefore, for me to retain that in my quarters, I must ask for the bigger one, so that I'm told, hey guy, we have given you these 2, 3, which are equivalent to this position. That could be one of the things. These are speculations and projections in the politics, and we will get to know the real situation when we get closer, because politics changes very fast. You remember the 2022 Azimio quads, people were jumping up and down here and there, and eventually we see Mother Karua and the late Raila Amolo Odinga in the race. And everybody was saying, because Kalonzo Musyoka was given twice, and all the time that he was being given the position for deputy, he was being promised that he would be the second one to pick the mantle. Then his thoughts were around that area, but all of a sudden we were surprised. Mother Karua became the deputy. So the interest of that particular time has changed. And the factor of this mountain played a significant role at that particular time. And therefore, what I'm trying to say is that, first, the politics is not something we will just settle in on certain arrangement that exists now. The arrangement is likely to change anytime. Secondly, when we get closer, regionalization factor comes in place. And we know now the kingpin of the mountain, for purposes of the current government, is my friend Professor. So Kithure Kindiki cannot be just sidelined.
Yes.
It's not something that you can just say, oh, let's get rid of him, and then we go into Nyanza or Western. There is a reason as to why he is there. When they were changing, when Rigathi Gachagua was removed, they had all the reason to bring a deputy president from Nyanza. They didn't do that simply because they were holding the mountain together. And I know from the arrangement and his trips in the mountain, regardless of this, the ones called the joint cousins who are in Central, Professor is doing very well, because in every event within the mountain, I can see the kind of crowd he's bringing on board.
Let's go
and
to the
10-point agenda. Kind of leadership.
Yes.
So in terms of the 10-point agenda, it's not for Oburu Odinga. No, the 10-point agenda was agenda that was drafted in Bomas.
But I'm quite sure, being now he's holding the mantle, he's the one who's supposed to steer that.
Yes.
That is what ODM.
He may not, and the person who is likely to steer, because it's not about ODM. I think something that we need to understand is that the 10-point factor was leaning towards ODM simply because the late Raila Amolo Odinga was the head of the team. But you know, there was a deputy who was sharing, Kalonzo Musyoka. And therefore, if it becomes ODM affairs, then it won't go anywhere far. But if it was a collective ideas from all the political quarters, where now Kalonzo Musyoka was leading, he was on sharing that particular time from the opposition side, then he should be given the opportunity to ride on that. And that is why I'm thinking, and that's why I'm thinking, it's not about an issue for Oburu Odinga. It should be about that's when it makes sense in terms of implementing the 10-point agenda.
Kevin?
I think there's a mix. I agree with him, but there's a mix between the 10-point agenda, which is really the handshake between ODM and Kenya Kwanza.
Yes.
And then there's the Bomas process, the NADCO process. My way of looking at it is that politics has to be done. And so Mheshimiwa party leader of ODM must do everything possible, in my view, to maintain the party. Now, constantly talking about a position like either presidency or deputy presidency solidifies the quest to consolidate the power, because now you can show that we are going forward to something. But fact of the matter and vitu kwa ground is different, because the people that you expect to want to help you to go and look for the deputy presidency seat are not with you. So ODM must also do everything possible to consolidate not just the political class, but the followership. And the person who would do this effectively was the former Prime Minister. May God continue to rest his soul in eternal peace. So ODM must craft a message, in my view, therefore, that still sends, messages to the greater followership that we are still in this game and we are up to something bigger. It will be very difficult to let go of Mheshimiwa Kithure Kindiki, because what are the grounds? The Constitution is very clear on the removal of a presidency or a deputy president or any other office, including MCA. The way and the manner in which Mheshimiwa Rigathi Gachagua was ousted out of office, I normally say, and I'll even repeat today, was unconstitutional. It should not have been done that way. One, there is no law on impeachment of president deputy. Even if you look at Article 150 and the requisite articles, including 144, 145, we must establish a stronger reason that therefore meet the threshold, so that if ODM wanted to use any of the cards, making reference to Mheshimiwa Rigathi Gachagua impeachment would not buy, and it would not sell in any way, because it was illegal and the matter is still in court. I think up to the Supreme Court level, but the other courts have already made certain judgments around, what happened. And if you listen to Mheshimiwa Rigathi Gachagua, he's still convinced that he can be president, despite the fact that the constitution or the law is clear around impeachments and certain offices. But because it is still in court, I think there are also lessons for ODM to learn. That now that you have a bit of it in the broad-based government, strengthen and consolidate what you have, so that if you have treasury, the mistakes that were there before ODM got into the broad-based government, respond to them effectively in a manner that the citizens will feel that even if you left government, they would miss something. But it would be right, it would not be right to say we want more, yet you are still struggling in some of the expatriate advice and skills that your people should have given to you. Number two is, of course, to focus on building the party, because as we move towards celebrating 20 years of ODM plans, which are still on course, there is going to be certain fallouts, and we know there are going to be winners and losers, especially this by-election and even the next election. So ODM would do much more better by, consolidating the followership, and also building it to a level where Mheshimiwa Raila Amolo Odinga probably would have taken it much more higher towards the journey to Karen. And then number three is a 10-point agenda. Where I come from, there are still questions around implementation of the 10-point agenda, particularly because there are certain things that Mheshimiwa Raila Amolo Odinga asked for. Of course, the appointments were done, but then remember there was a lull, there were certain struggles. Then they called a meeting at KICC and a task force was put in place. I think we must be keen as a people across the country to hold institutions accountable and begin to ask for what is it that Mheshimiwa Raila Amolo Odinga wanted in the 10-point agenda. Is it being implemented? If it is issues of equitable share going to counties effectively, if it is issues of payment of pending bills, if it is ensuring that share is working, if it is ensuring that our lecturers are in class and the bulk of young people are not out there because there is no money, is that what Mheshimiwa Raila Amolo Odinga wanted in the broad-based government? Are we fulfilling it? Are we meeting it? Is it that, something is wrong? And if something is not happening, then ODM now, with the leadership and the wisdom of the youth leader, the Gen Z Mheshimiwa Oburu Oginga, now needs to come and say, we will not fall down on the 10-point agenda just because Mheshimiwa Raila Amolo Odinga is not there. But I am here and the leadership of ODM, and we will hold the government accountable and the institutions that are supposed to ensure that the 10-point agenda work. Because I think that would relate much more easier to citizens than asking for presidency, which you know you cannot get because there's a president in office and there's a very clear way for a deputy president. Then you want to be malicious to plant things and remove him in office. And Mheshimiwa Kithure Kindiki, I don't think he's that soft person that you'll just tell tomorrow, utoke kwa ofisi na atoke. This is a gentleman.
They might wait for 2027.
I think he has put it very well. But I wanted to clarify two things. One, I think Oburu Odinga was focusing on 2027 political arrangements.
Yes.
And therefore, it's not now that deputy president should be handed over to them. And that's when he says we cannot go anything less, either president or deputy president. So that is his wish, and that will come when that particular time comes. But as he has put it very well, you can't brush off the mountain, and you can't brush off Professor Kithure Kindiki.
And the political process is on.
But I really wanted to clarify one thing in terms of the 10-point agenda. Actually, the 10-point agenda came from NADCO. We must understand that because he did not make a broad-based government, join the government based on new ideas. He said, this is why we are fighting. And this is what we think that will going to solve the current crisis in the country, which were the 10 points from NADCO. Some of the things were now surpluses to suppress the situation, to show ownership, that we give you certain positions, we'll do some ministers there or some other positions. That was to prove that the government is willing to develop or broaden the base for the government. One. Number two is to show commitment that the 10-point agenda will still be worked on if we have people within that came from the opposition. And that is why the 10-point agenda is still relevant. And that is why we cannot do the issues related to the 10-point agenda with exclusion of Kalonzo Musyoka, with the exclusion of Wamalwa and this other team, simply because those agendas were purely crafted or made into
Ben, we have people watching.
Why actually those 10-point agenda would never work out at this point?
I totally believe
they have demarcated themselves. Let me clear. You know why now even the late Raila Amolo Odinga could not proceed with the 10-point agenda is because his troops decided to go into a bigger platform of opposition, fighting now him and the government that he has formed a broad-based with. And therefore, on that aspect, then it slowed down the 10-point agenda, and the late Raila Amolo Odinga had no otherwise other than side playing and picking what is relevant he thinks that it can be done, and forget about the collective points that requires all of them inclusive.
Ben, I know we are running out of time, but we must be very clear to Kenyans. NADCO happened before June 25th, 2024. BBG happened post June 25th, 2024, at the height of the Gen Z demonstrations.
Correct.
When Kenyans were very clear around the kind of government that they wanted. And remember, there was a conversation, people were saying, Ruto must go. And Raila's elder brother, my senator, Oburu Oginga, the youth leader, was saying, go to where? Then what happens? And people were hoping that Mheshimiwa Raila Amolo Odinga would join with the massive of Kenyans who are calling for Ruto must go, so that the government, whatever happens, happens. But he chose not to. And in most of his eulogies, people were even saying he's a peacemaker, you know, when the country was torn. And so Kenyans are saying, regardless of your political arrangements, that is the tempo that we want, the tempo of the Gen Z protest, accountability, that everything that is being done must be done to forestall accountability. Remember, they were even saying that there was a list that was formed. Gen Zs were asked to go and submit their names, and they failed to do so because they said, we are leaderless, we are tribeless, we are etc. And that is the gap that ODM used to take advantage and got into what? Into government, and the broad-based government was formed. The prayers and requests of NADCO are totally different from the prayers and requests of the broad-based government. Because for NADCO, we were talking about laws and legislations that had to be done, including the IEBC, including the Office of the Prime Cabinet Secretary, Office of the Prime Minister,
and
Office
also
of
leader
DAO,
of official
all these affirmative action funds being put into law like NGCDF, World Fund, etc. But here, Kenyans are talking about things that matter to them, that SHA is not working. The cries that the Gen Zs had, that leaders are showing up with phones, yet we don't have food, expensive phones, yet we don't have food. Those were the issues that Mheshimiwa Raila Amolo used to take advantage and say, we are going to sort out this issue in this manner. So the political games must be cognizant of the cries of Kenyans. Because elections will come, they will go, but we must be very cognizant that there are prayers that Kenyans have, that health must work, roads must be done, that water must be delivered, you know, so that that spirit of Raila Amolo Odinga is pacified. Because as Kevin, I believe, if those prayers, Daktari, are not met, Mheshimiwa Raila Amolo Odinga will resurrect somehow. His spirit will still move around to ensure that what made him even be called a betrayer by the youth. Because remember, he said, you are calling me betrayer, but I know what I'm doing. I'm joining President William Ruto to stabilize this country in a manner that you are going to enjoy and be joyful about it. So if that spirit is not pacified by what is happening in government right now, the spirit of Mheshimiwa Raila Amolo Odinga, yes, we normally say rest his spirit in his soul in PCTC. There will be no peace until that agenda, in my view, is addressed, including what devolution, the spirit of devolution that Raila had in his spirit upon his demise. I think that is really the focus of what the political players must.
And because of the interest of time, I have two questions. One, we'll also be looking at, I know you're very passionate about matter security, and we have seen the High Court has just temporarily halted that exercise. And there seems, we've been reading the papers, there seem to be some tension between the National Police Service and the National Police Service Commission. We have seen some of the promotions being, being questioned. And now this is something that has been brought, although it has been brought by a private petitioner, it has halted the recruitment of 10,000 youth, because definitely whoever is being recruited are the youth, the Gen Zs. And it's been simmering for a while. This cannot be good, especially when we are looking for jobs, when we need to do some promotion so that some people can get other opportunities in the National Police Service as well. Doc?
Yeah, in the matter of independent commissions, I think I have put explicitly in the media quite a number of times on print media. And we have talked about it because it's something that concerns us. And when we are talking about security, security is something that cannot be compromised. And in essence, people who understand issues related to security must be left for them to manage security. And our constitution is very clear. The independent commission, like National Police Service Commission, Public Service Commission, Judicial Service Commission, I don't understand why National Police Service Commission will want to manage a discipline force. And yet, in the Judicial Service Commission, the commission does not manage the operational aspect of judiciary. It's a very clear thing, even in the Constitution. And thank God, a ruling was made last time by one of the senior justices. And that ruling was very clear, bold. And I do not understand why people are still pushing to go to court to destabilize the security sector, because this is now destabilization. It's not at the interest of the common citizen of this country. Simply because if the Inspector General of Police, who is a commissioner in the commission, a Deputy Inspector General of Police for Kenya Administration Police, Mr. Masengeli, and Deputy Inspector General of Kenya Police, which is Mr. Langat, are commissioners within the commission. And the rest, there are 2 commissioners who are ex-police officers, and the rest are civilians. what is it that we want to trust with the commission and we can't trust with the commissioners who are disciplined, who coming from the discipline force? The constitution was very clear when they were demanding that these 3 people should appear as a member of the commission, and of course, in addition to that, 2 other commissioners must be retired police officers. So meaning then 5 out of 9 are actually police officers. Meaning then there was wisdom in it. The wisdom is that discipline forces are managed differently from any civilian way of doing it. Public Service Commission manages all the public servants. Have you ever seen them struggling with running the budget and recruitment of other staffs? They only advertise, they do the necessary regulations.
So here it's more or less like the doctrine of separation of powers is not.
It's very clear. No. In the Constitution, it's very clear.
Yes. Where the Constitution is very clear. But in this situation, we are seeing
where the rain started hitting us is when Public Account Committee gave directives to National Police Service Commission asking the Inspector General to hand over the payroll of uniformed officers, police officers. How do you hand over people you are managing who are disciplined, who are in essence complex in their own way of doing their job?
You feel it should have been requested by the National Police Service Commission?
Exactly. So basically, the National Police Service Commission is a group of people who seems to be not understanding their mandate. The Constitution has clearly elaborated it. Before even the judgment, I put it very clear that this is the way to go. Then the judge brought out a very clear point, which is that whoever does not sit in the Security Council cannot employ security officers. And that is why you see the prisons are employed by the Prisons Commissioner General. KWS are employed by the KWS Director General. Military is employed by the military. How do you assess as a civilian to assess someone and find that this person is suitable to do security services? It is not institution that does require only academia. This is an institution that requires other additional techniques that one must possess, including looking at the physical fitness of individuals who are coming to the force, and including assessing their mental status. The Commission has no single mandate according to our Constitution, and I think people should not waste a lot of time. Directions must be given.
And we are hoping because the national police...
The other problem I have is the fact that our courts are drailing the situation because this issue, like the CSA...
But you know the courts will have to accept
they have to accept everything, of course, I agree.
They have to accept and stamp the petition and listen to it.
But I totally agree with them. That is their practice, and that's the best thing to do because that's the only hope that we have whenever we have an issue. I'm not doubting that. But why don't we just listen and assess whether this situation is the same? Because the two courts are actually similar. One is constitutional court, the other one is labor court.
You are learning out of time, Doc, but maybe we can open
up this. My snapshot on there is that the National Police Service Commission, or whomever they are using to drill the process of security, it won't be of their interest. Security drilling will be the problem of all Kenya, and we are interested in having this country safe so that we are able to do all the other things that we are doing. And they should be, they should understand their role.
Currently, your last statement, and especially you can touch on the upcoming general election.
I just wanted to talk about Article 246 on the establishment of the National Police Service Commission, but I won't, so our viewers can look at the Constitution, Article 246, and the roles that are supposed to be discharged by the Commission and the National Police Service. But I think my only comment is two things. One, it is good that there is now a go-ahead to recruit police officers. I think it's supposed to start on, is it 17?
It has been stopped actually yesterday.
Yesterday, actually,
because that's where the problem is.
That's where the issue has
maybe
been.
That's a second petition, I think. Because there was a judgment that was earlier done. Maybe now there's a second one. And then number two is that we must delink politics from critical engagements, especially with security. I'm very glad about how KDF does its thing, because it's a very clear mechanism that really shows how it's supposed to be done. There's no reason, in my view, why there should be a conflict between the National Police Service and the commission itself.
Okay.
But I see two things. There's a politics and also the authority to incur expenditure, AIE holdership, which is really resident and the mandate of the Inspector General of Police. So we are hoping that, as you rightfully said, the courts, as they discharge their mandate, will also be keen to look at the what we call the political economy analysis, the context on the ground. 10,000.
And we are also hoping that 10,000 youth. And also we are hoping that we have the general election that's just around the corner, and we are hoping the National Police Service and the National Police Service Commission also
do you want me to comment on the general election? I've been telling you here that it is an if question.
We have really,
not when. The constitution is clear about when it's supposed to happen.
We can do this.
The big issue is
next week we will be talking about the by-elections, who will be having about a week or so to the 27th poll by-election. But thank you indeed so much. We have been speaking to Kevin Osido, County Governance Watch Executive Director. Just next to him we have Dr. Harun Issack, who is a political analyst and also governance expert. Well, as I had mentioned before the beginning of this show, is that in the second hour we are looking at promoting private mediation right here in Kenya, and guest is James Mangerere, who is the President, Mediation Training Institute. Many thanks indeed for having us this first hour. Let's take a quick break. We'll be right back.